I made some mistakes in my last video about how Israel could theoretically strike Iran. This video corrects some of the stuff I got wrong and amplifies some other stuff. To start, trying to do intel on Israel is like trying to put together a puzzle in the dark and you don't have all the pieces and someone has hidden the box cover and some Israeli dude is smacking you every once in a while going, Ryan, chavel shali, ata kazat pish. Listen, Motek, 90% of the open intel we get on foreign weapons comes from the freaking brochures. All right? And I can't talk about stuff I learned in the skiff. So if you don't sell weapon systems to other countries and you don't attend arms expos where you sell these weapons, you don't make any brochures. Now, pretty much all Israel exports are drones and the trophy system. So it's pretty freaking hard to figure out what other surprises you have up your sleeve if you don't sell them. Israel has really good operational security. So my first mistake in my video, I showed an Air Force KC-10 when I should have shown a KC-135. I don't know why I did that. So this is my bad. I was rushing to get the video out. I made a mistake. In the video, I said that the F-35s that went on the mission against Iran might carry 2 AMRAAMs and 2 Sidewinder heat-seeking missiles in the internal bay for the combat air patrol. And you know, for a moment, I mixed up the F-22 and the F-35. The F-22 can carry heat-seeking Sidewinders in a bay internally, but the F-35 can't. And the reason is that on the F-35, the Sidewinder seeker head needs to be on an outer pylon so that its seeker can actually see the target. Somehow the F-22 is able to feed this data to the Sidewinder inside of its internal bay, I guess through some sort of IR sensor on the F-22's aircraft, which the F-35 doesn't have. But anyway, it would have been more likely that the F-35 on the raid would have carried 4 AMRAAM radar-guided medium-range anti-aircraft missiles. A number of people also mentioned that the F-35I and maybe the F-15I might be equipped with probe-and-drogue mid-air refueling systems. Now let me explain what those are. There's basically 2 kinds of mid-air refueling. The U.S. Navy and the Marine Corps and a lot of other allied nations prefer probe-and-drogue refueling. It's cheaper. And this is kind of where your refueling tanker has a drogue that kind of looks like a shuttlecock on a hose. And the plane that wants to receive fuel has a probe. And they have to stick it into the drogue, or that shuttlecock looking thing, in order to receive fuel. And the Navy does this because it allows them to carry buddy stores, meaning that one aircraft can carry an extra fuel tank and refuel another fighter in midair. The U.S. Air Force prefers flying boom refueling, and that's mainly because back when the Air Force pioneered mid-air refueling, they were mainly concerned about refueling big old bombers that were carrying nuclear weapons on their way to Russia. And, you know, bombers aren't exactly nimble enough to stick a probe into a hole. So they use a big flying boom to refuel the plane. Now, I was aware that Israel was talking about retrofitting the F-15I with probe-and-drogue refueling about 12 years ago or so. I don't know if they made any progress on this. And regarding probe refueling on the F-35I, I have seen pictures of Israeli F-35s, and they don't have that probe door on the right side of the cockpit like U.S. Navy F-35Cs and Marine Corps F-35B models have. Now, that doesn't mean that because I've seen a few pictures, some Israeli F-35s might have probe-and-drogue refueling. And I haven't seen the F-15Is that have this. But if they did have that capability, it would unlock the tech tree for using KC-130Hs as tankers and effectively double Israel's tanker fleet from 7 Israeli 707 boom tankers to a total of 14, including those KC-130Hs. But again, I don't know if Israel did that, and I doubt they actually have, because again, I haven't seen any pictures of that, and that's why I didn't include that particular possible capability in the video. So a lot of people said, what about SEAD, or suppression of enemy air defenses, because I didn't include any kind of dedicated anti-surface air missile or wild weasel element in my scenario. And the wild weasel guys, they basically fly until they get lit up by enemy radar, and then they fire a missile down that beam that just lit them up. This is a very, very dangerous job. And that's a good question. You know how in Grand Theft Auto 5, Lester gave you the option of performing a heist and going in loud or going in smart? My scenario called for going in smart, using the F-35 as it was intended as a stealthy precision attack aircraft with enormous sensor capability that would allow you to avoid these surface-to-air missile installations. Now, we could go in loud and we dedicate aircraft to attrit Iran's radar installations and surface-to-air capabilities. That is an option. But again, Israel only has 7 tankers, or maybe 14. So any kind of pulsed corridor operations where you smash open a corridor through air defenses and then send the bombers through before that corridor closes, which is why it's a pulse operation. And any kind of pulse corridor operations will take multiple sorties and multiple days. And, Jordan, Kurdish Iraq, Saudi Arabia, they can only maintain plausible deniability of Israeli aircraft operating in their airspace for so long. So anything Israel does has to be under cover of darkness. It has to be done in one night. And that way, Jordan and Kurdish Iraq and Saudi Arabia could say, oh gosh darn it, those rascally Jews violated our airspace. It's just a darn shame some of you apostate Shia got smoked and your nuclear program was set back. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, they can only do that once, right? So a lot of you also asked why I didn't mention Operation Opera, or Israel's attack on Iraq's nuclear power plant back in 1981. That was a different situation, a different time, and totally different in the sense that at the time Iraq was at war with Iran. And most of Iraq's radars and surface-to-air missile assets were facing toward Iran. They weren't looking in the other direction back toward Israel. So also a number of you asked why Israel couldn't launch cruise missiles at Iranian targets. And maybe they have the Delilah, they have the Popeye, but none of them really have standoff range. I think the Delilah has like 200, 250 kilometer range. Popeye's even less. And the warheads just aren't big enough to penetrate down into uranium enrichment facilities that go deep underground. That's why you have the GBU-31 bunker busters. Now, Israel does have submarines that may have cruise missile capability, but remember how I talked about Israel as a puzzle and you have to put it together in the dark and some of the pieces are missing and an Israeli dude is yelling at you? That goes double for their submarine service. Most nations keep quiet about their submarines. Israel goes way beyond that. Israel may have ballistic or cruise missiles in vertically launched tubes in at least one of its submarines, but those may be nuclear weapons, which give Israel a second strike capability. Like if somebody destroys Israel, Israel will at least be able to avenge that attack with submarines that can't be touched by conventional means. So again, if there are conventional cruise missiles, the warheads might not be able to penetrate deep underground, at least not as deep as a GBU-31 bunker buster. Now, regarding oil, some people said, well, I think Israel's going to attack Iran's oil facilities. Maybe, like 90% of Iranian oil leaves through one place, Karg Island. And supposedly a lot of Iranian oil tankers have left that area because they expect it to be attacked. So it could be possible that Israel could strike that island with aircraft or maybe conventionally launched submarine launched cruise missiles if they have them. But the problem is that Iran has said that if their oil infrastructure is attacked, they will attack Saudi Arabia's oil infrastructure. Saudi air defense is good. They use our stuff. They have the Patriot PAC-3, but they might not be able to cover everything. So I don't know if Israel will attack oil facilities because that could result in a response from Iran towards Saudi Arabia, and you kind of want the Saudis on your side. Finally, a number of people asked why Israel couldn't attack out of Azerbaijan, since it's rumored that Israel has a special forces bases in Azerbaijan. So Israel did supply Azerbaijan with weapons during the Nagorno-Karabakh War, and it's theoretically possible that they could use their bases to conduct an attack. Azerbaijan is close to Iran, but there's a few problems. First problem is you have to get there. You still got the tyranny of distance. Turkey probably isn't going to let Israel fly over their airspace, so that means Israel's going to have to fly to Greece and then fly across the Black Sea. And I guarantee you the Russians are watching the airspace in the Black Sea. So if the Russians see a couple of squadrons of planes heading to Azerbaijan, they're probably going to let Iran know about it. Second, moving a squadron isn't like that video game Strike Commander where you just have a C-130 load with all your crap. You could move a squadron within 20 to 72 hours if a lot of their support equipment gets left behind. It would take like 1 to 2 weeks to fully deploy all the equipment you need to sustain. At least it would take America that amount of time to do that with our massive Air Mobility Command lift assets. It would involve moving between 1,000 and 1,500 pieces of equipment like maintenance platforms, generators, floodlights, bleed air compressors, refrigerant units, AC units, hydraulic units, oil units, weapon loaders, tugs, and lots of Zin and energy drinks. So maybe you could trim this list down to only a few critical supplies, but it's still a significant amount of stuff to move. And people are going to notice that it's missing. Iran isn't stupid. And it's not friends with Azerbaijan. So if it thinks that Israel is going to launch a raid out of Azerbaijan, it will attack Azerbaijan's airfields with ballistic missiles. Now, so that means in addition to all of the aerospace ground equipment you have to get to that airfield to support and sustain your aircraft for the attack, now you have to get surface-to-air missile launchers to intercept a possible Iranian counterattack. So that means more space, which now takes more time. So it's not as easy as, Israel just launches out of this base. Iran might certainly counterattack shooting missiles at Azerbaijan in revenge for allowing them to conduct this attack. So Israel has to make sure that Azerbaijan's airspace is protected, and that isn't going to be quick or easy. That's actually pretty much it. A couple of other things. I didn't tell you guys this, but I've been working really, really hard this week on Iran, and also I had to do 5 other videos before Monday. And the reason is that on Monday I am leaving for the 2024 NATO Air Power Conference, where I'm going to be speaking about drone warfare. And just as a quick note, it is kind of funny looking at all the speakers and panelists there, because it's like Baron von Schlapp of the German Air Force and Mario Luigi of the Italian Navy and Ryan McBeth, YouTuber. So I guess they need entertainment, right? So I'm going to be spending about a week in Germany, and then when I come home, I have to go to AUSA. So if you're going to AUSA, let me know. Then I fly to Dallas, Texas, because the Aeromed Lab is looking for new office space. So I got to go look for a new office. And then I have to go to Fort Bliss, maybe at the end of October, starting November. So I'm going to be traveling most of October. And I have to have these videos lined up because my advertisers have to approve them. And, honestly, YouTube keeps demonetizing my stuff. So selling VPNs and ground news allows me to pay for my mortgage. I need the money. But if you do want to support the channel, head on over to Substack, ryanmcbeth.substack.com. Toss me like $5. I could use the money. Also, you can get one of my Alcoholics Moving Cargo hoodies from Bunker Branding, because fighter pilots make movies and the Air Mobility Command makes history. So all that being said, I do know about some of the misinformation coming out of North Carolina. I would like to get to it. This has just been a crazy week because I have obligations to my advertisers. That's just kind of the way it is in this YouTube life. So thank you guys so much for watching.
Oh man, I'm so bored! Christ on crutches with a permanent profile. That's because you have the wrong toys! You need a Ryan McBeth in action figure from the Knife Hand Company. That's right, Ryan McBeth in action figures go everywhere! Put them on your desk, your Crocs, your keychain! You can even ask Ryan advice. Ryan, why does Daddy ignore me when I'm over his house for the weekend? Because your new mommy is way hotter than your old mommy! Trading cards! You get a free trading card in every box! Now that's Ryan-rific! So come on down to the Knife Hand Company and get your in-action figure today!
Alcoholism, cigarettes, and non-service connected hearing loss sold separately.